What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cheese Talk podcast. I am your host, Brian, and I was joined by two Lions fans. It looks like we lost one of them. Did he go?
No, I think he might have booted him out of the room by accident. But Riley's still he's in the back room.
He's in the back room.
Can hear me. Yeah.
There we go. I got him back on. I apologize. I'm trying to do this from my phone. But I am a Packers fan, outnumbered by two Lions fans tonight on my podcast. I'm joined by Will Rock and Riley O'Brien, two Lions fans. I've had Riley on my podcast before. Riley, what's up? Will, what's going on?
Man, it's great to be back, Brian. I mean, shoot, when was that we did that? And time goes so quick. It was a year, maybe 2 years ago. But yeah, man, off-season flew by. I'm so excited for tomorrow. It doesn't feel real, but it also feels very overdue. So I can't wait for kickoff. And good to see you and be joined again here. And I've got the great Will Rock with me, so I'll let him introduce himself. But excited for this, man.
For sure. Welcome back.
Being the great Will Rock, but I'll say, Brian, thank you for having us on tonight. It's always a pleasure to mix and mingle with other NFL fans, rivals or not, in division or not. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all fans. We're all family, except when they say go on Sunday. So we'll have some fun tonight, man. Thank you for bringing us in.
For sure. So probably what's going to happen, I'll ask a question, get both of your opinions, both of your answers, whatever. That's the easiest way to do this, I think, with three people. So let's start off by, what are your thoughts on the Lions season last year? I know they had big expectations pretty much throughout the whole year. How do you guys feel on how it ended?
Take it away, Will.
All right. Well, I mean, it's a hard question, but it's also an easy question. It's hard because it stung. It stung losing, the last game of the season, or the first playoff game of the year in the divisional round. But I don't know too many Lions fans or people in this business that would have thought anything different was going to happen. Too many injuries. I mean, we went 15-2 on the backs of our backups and the backs of their backups. So the fact that we go into the divisional round against a team that is completely healthy, Jaden Daniels running the hell out of the RPO, what did you expect? You go down to Meek in the second snap. I mean, that was the stick that kind of broke the camel's back, if you will.
Sure.
Super excited by the way that that they finished. That you lose Aiden in week 6, and then you lose everybody else over the next few weeks, but yet they still played. The standard was the standard. And now we have all of those guys back, and they're all healthy. So I'm more excited to see what happens this year. We have the number one schedule in the league, so we'll see what we can do.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with Will. I mean, it was a great season, and I think the year before, the trajectory for the Lions was pretty clear. Once it started to, as soon as Sheila came out and said, "I'm staying with this regime, we trust him." At the time, the Lions were still not winning games. That's when things started to change. And there was a time where just getting to the playoffs, winning a playoff game was the barometer for the Lions. That happened, right? Then you get to the NFC Championship. And so normally there's a progression that you would expect where if you don't get to that point again, you'd almost feel like it was a letdown. I didn't feel that with the Lions last year. As Will said, obviously everybody knows 15 wins. It was an amazing regular season. The Lions won games in super close fashion. They dominated teams, and they just kind of had too many injuries by the end of it. And then Washington played a really good game, and so you tipped your hat to them. But it was brutal. The NFC Championship loss was worse for me, I feel, the year before. But so it was an awesome season, despite the frustrating end, but still the best season I feel for me personally in my lifetime as a Detroit Lions fan.
For sure. With the loss of Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, does that affect this year's team at all, do you think? Or do you think you're just going to little road bump and just get back together and do it again without them?
There's been a whole lot of conversation surrounding Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. And I would have to say that, Ben Johnson, even though he had the keys to the offense, and it seemed like, that's all that the Lions were about over the last couple of seasons is high-octane offense. and in a defense that was starting to come together. Um, Nothing's changed for this team. Ben Johnson, yeah, he was a mixologist, and I've said this time and time again that this has been Dan Campbell's offense from day one. Jared Goff is now on his fourth offensive coordinator when you think about it with his time in Detroit. He started with Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn didn't work out for one season, and then it was back to Dan Campbell in year two with Ben Johnson slowly taking the reins. And then Ben Johnson was fully integrated by about week 6 or 7. So that was coordinator number 3. And now we're on to coordinator number 4. But John Morton is not new to this team. He was with this team back in 2021. He was one of the original founders, if you will, of this Detroit Lions offense, which is now, has had Ben Johnson's fingerprints all over it. But the root of this offense is Dan Campbell. So with all of those things still in play, nothing changes. And then on the other side of the football, Kelvin Shepherd, he's been waiting for this opportunity, and he was brought in day one by Dan Campbell. It's been said on multiple press conferences that this was the plan. They didn't have to look outside the building. Kelvin Shepherd was the guy that he was going to train to become a defensive coordinator, and he learned under one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. I know that there's a lot of people out there that have some negative things to say about Aaron Glenn, but I mean, I did after the Washington game because you just don't blitz the RPO, but we'll leave that for another day. Aaron Glenn did a lot with very little. He consistently battled through injuries. I mean, look what we did last season, going 15-2, having to manufacture pressure from every angle, and he did it with guys that were coming off the street or other teams' practice squads. Aaron Glenn is going to have great success in this league with the Jets. He's going to bring the Jets back around. But Kelvin Shepherd is the guy that is going to take the torch, and it's going to burn brighter. He's going to put his fingerprints on a defense that did a lot of things great. But Kelvin Shepherd has a better defensive unit right now than Aaron Glenn ever did in those first 4 seasons. So watch out. They're coming.
For sure.
I think there's no way to say, the Lions, you lose the bottom line is they lost good football coaches, really good football coaches that became head coaches for a reason. But as Will alluded to, the Lions have, by design, built this culture and this structure, and they've stuck to it. So the fact that they hired somebody within in Kelvin Shepherd, and frankly, even with John Morton having a history with Dan Campbell, having a history with the Lions, it would almost in a way be considered an in-house hire as well. There's continuity. These guys know their coaches. The coaches know the players. And I think everybody has a very specific role in this organization. So I'm confident in the Lions, despite losing very good coordinators. I think that they have very good coordinators, and we'll start to see tomorrow, if that's just the speculation or if it's an actual fact.
For sure. Only one way to find out, right? Go live.
Exactly.
How do you think they fared in the draft this year? Do you think they filled their needs, or just kind of drafted some back, obviously some depth? And
that's another hot button question I think that's floating around Detroit too. And I gotta be honest. I'm glad that Terry and Arnold is no longer crying, having to go back to Green Bay and relive that whole thing all over again, where he thought that he was going to be a Packer. Thankfully, the Lions were able to jump up and get him there. Just poking at you a little, Brian. But for this Detroit Lions drafting, it's intense. It's intentional. And Brad Holmes does things a very, very particular way. He's hit on every single draft, and he's going to hit again in this draft. Tyleik Williams I had as my number 1 defensive tackle back when I was at the Combine watching the guys, and I was not surprised that he became a Detroit Lion on day 1. Tate Ratledge was my 2nd overall offensive lineman after all the tackles, that I expected to go in the first round. It was Tate Ratledge that I did expect to go to the Detroit Lions. So there's 2 hits right there. The problem is this Lions roster is so deep that there's going to be players that aren't going to make the roster. The fact that Brad did what he did to find Isaac Tesla. I mean, if you haven't read the headlines, Isaac Tesla might be the next Puka Nacua or even better. So there's 3 hits, and that's all he needs. That's all he needed in this draft. If those are the only 3 that make it, he hit. Now, Ahmed Hassanin, I had the pleasure of having his brother on my show for a few weeks, Corey, and so I got to know, Ahmed through Corey vicariously, and I'll say that I expect Ahmed to be an extremely good football player. It's unfortunate that he's battling an injury this early, but if it's those 4 players that make it, great. But then you look at Jackson Meeks, the UDFA. He completely lit it up in the preseason and in practice at all the practices that I went to. Dominic Lovett was my early dark horse to make it from, the depths of the draft, and he made it. I didn't expect him to make it at the end, but he made it. This is a draft that I think is kind of filling out, areas around the roster that maybe you just need a few people. But Brad, he says he doesn't draft that way. He doesn't draft for needs. So I don't expect him to do that. He's going to find the best 53. And at the end of the day, it's about the top 69 that make this roster. And I think that every single year you're watching this team evolve. And I think that you're watching Brad Holmes evolve in the way that he drafts football players too.
Sure.
And I don't know, Brian, how much I had described to you, but Will is NFL credentialed media. He actually was there in Green Bay with Eric doing our draft coverage for the Rocked On Detroit Lions channel. They did a great job out there. So they were there, and it's on the channel. Will's kind of calling these picks as they're happening, and had great insight and intel, not even just on the Lions, but throughout the league. And so, man, I went into the draft thinking this team is obviously such a good team that the first round pick might not even be a starter. Well, now it turns out that you're having a few guys that are, at least a couple that are starting, and a third that's probably going to be getting a significant amount of snaps. Once you saw, you understood Aleem McNeil's coming off of an injury, so the Tyleik Williams pick made a lot of sense. Then we drafted Tate Ratledge, as everybody knows, and then Frank Ragnow retires after. So now it makes even more sense. So it's a rare situation when you have a 15-win team draft players that are in position to play a significant amount of snaps. But everything since the draft that I've learned about these players, it seems like those are the guys. If you're going to be playing a rookie and you're expecting a standard, because this isn't a rebuilding team, a lot of times those guys have leashes because the teams are bad, right? This is a really good football team, and these players seem to be able to fit the mold for holding their own and not being a weak link out there on the field between Williams, Ratledge, and Tesla, the guys that we expect to see a lot. So I was happy with the draft, man. I think the Lions found some good players, and that's been Brad Holmes' MO. Almost everybody he's drafted is panned out so far.
Sure. What do you think the biggest weakness the Lions face this season will be? Or what do you think will kind of, quote unquote, slow them down? Anything that sticks out?
That's a tough one to answer, because I don't really believe that there's a clear weakness on this roster. I think a lot of people would point to the center of the offensive line, because we lost Frank Ragnow to retirement, and that's a huge loss. I mean, anytime you lose an all-pro center that, is tops of the league, has been, number one, number two center for several years, that's a huge loss. So I think that you could point to the interior of the offensive line. I do believe that the best days are behind Taylor Decker. So I think overall, if I were to give a weakness, it probably would be the offensive line. I don't know that I could point really anywhere else on that roster and say that we have a weakness, though. We've got 6 really good linebackers, probably one of the deepest defensive backs rooms that all those guys are multiple and flexible. Jared Goff, I mean, he's been, a top 3, top 5 quarterback now for 2.5 seasons. Statistically and analytically, he's there. He's winning a lot of football games. And the wide receiver room, I mean, I just don't know how much deeper you want to go in a room. I mean, it's quite the contrast to what's happening in some of the other, rooms around the NFC North right now, namely the Packers, that, you guys are missing quite a few players due to injury right now, and you just don't know what you're going to have this year. So it's good to have depth, right? And I think that the Packers are building that same depth too, especially with Matthew Golden coming in this year. But I have to go with offensive line. I think that's the only area that I could point to, really.
Yeah, not to copy and paste the answer. I mean, I'm thinking obviously there's credence to what Will just said for me, obviously, then it would be, you can't go into the season just underestimating anybody, right? And I don't think I know I'm not, and I know Will isn't, certainly, and most people are not for the Lions. You're confident, but it's a difficult schedule. We know that, right? So it can feel like a regression because they probably are not going to win 15 games this season. It's probably not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that the team's worse. And again, you get to the playoffs and you advance in the playoffs, and that's obviously what matters. So they don't necessarily need to. You were asking me last time I was on your channel, and it was which receiver room is better. And to me, I answered Green Bay at the time. I think that's swung in the favor of the Lions heavily this go around there. But obviously, you guys have some guys hurt and banged up, but excited to see the rookie tomorrow for sure.
The one thing I like about your receiving room is Jameson Williams' celebration, where he's he's penetrating the ground or doing the motion, or whatever, the hip thrust. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, there's at least a couple Lions fans on this show with you right now that would. I'm all for the celebrations, but just pick something else, man. Do something else.
Okay.
Don't do the gritty unless you're playing Minnesota. Do anything but that. Just about anything.
Sure. What's your you kind of hit on it before. What is your confidence level for the Lions this year? Do you think you're pretty confident in how they're going to be coached and how they're going to go out there and perform?
I'm 100% confident, in this
Right.
team. No, what I'm not confident in is the schedule. Obviously we want to play everybody at their best, and we want to have, good competition. I think that's just what good teams. God, it's even funny saying that. Good teams enjoy is going up against the best teams out there and saying that you gave them your best. The Lions were fully healthy. And I think that what a lot of teams are going to realize really quickly is that this is a team that can hang with anybody. And it's been a team that Dan said from day one, and I just wrote an article about it yesterday. Dan Campbell, from his very first press conference, when he talked about, getting up and taking an E-cap off, or, we're going to be the deepest team out there in Hard Knocks, and we're going to tread you out into deep water, and, before you know it, we're going to be the last one standing. That happened last year. Last season, you saw what Dan Campbell could do, and you saw what his coaches could do with anybody. It did not matter. As long as you believed in the scheme and you believed in your team and the guy next to you, the sky was the limit for this team. It's just, anybody battling 21 guys on IR. I don't know any team that's ever done that before and won 15 games. It's tough to do. And it's not like we had an easy schedule last year either. This year's just that much more difficult. So do I have confidence? Yeah. I think last year, I made this analogy the other day. I said, anytime that you're sharpening or you're creating a blade, right, out of raw steel, you have to harden that blade and you have to go through multiple steps. Last year was just another step of hardening this team. And I think that this team is ready to go. I just hope that they all stay healthy. I think that my biggest or a lot of Lions fans' biggest worry is Marcus Davenport going down early this season, and we can't have that happen. He's just going to have to stay healthy, and I think that he's been working towards that all year is to make it through a full season. So that might be the biggest worry for Lions fans is Marcus Davenport, but it is not one of mine.
I know you're asking us the questions, Brian, but let me kick one back to you from a Packers fan perspective. When the Lions started when they lost Hutchinson last year and the injuries just started piling, did you expect the wheels to fall off the wagon?
Based off of what I saw, no, I didn't. I thought the Lions were, pretty solid in all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. They had it. To me, no, they didn't. I thought they were gonna keep going the way they were. It's a little setback, but like they always say, next man up. It sucks. Obviously, every team deals with injuries, and it's how you respond.
For sure. Yeah, it's cliche as it is, right? The next man up. The funny thing is, the Monday morning on the Rise and Grind morning show after the Lions played that game in Dallas, Will was on our show, and was quick to say, don't panic because you lost Hutchinson. Imagine for Packers fan, if you lose Parsons, would that thing crumble? What would your expectations be, right? It's obviously, like you said, every team deals with injuries, but everything that made the Lions continue to be a very good football team last year, literally every component of that is still there this year. So my confidence is as high as it can be. I think that top to bottom, the Lions roster is every bit, if not even a little bit more talented than last year. And I think that the culture, which is such a, it's easy to overlook that, right? But there's no doubt in my mind that tomorrow, right before they're taking the field, and Dan Campbell, in the preseason, before they take the field, the motivational speeches are probably pretty minimal. You can't fabricate the emotion. Tomorrow, it's real. This stuff counts now. Every one of these snaps matters, and the players are not going to be hard to motivate. I don't expect that a lot, and I expect the same thing from Green Bay. I expect a battle, but I just think that because of who Dan Campbell is as a head coach, I am very confident in the Detroit Lions.
Brings me to my next question. What are your thoughts on tomorrow's game? Like, what do you? Obviously, it's the first game of the year. Based off what you saw in preseason, how the end of last season ended. I mean, do you guys?
Sorry, did it cut here for a second?
No, it is like what are your thoughts on tomorrow's game? I guess.
So I heard that part that you cut out for a minute there. It's game one, man.
Right.
It's game one. As we saw in the first couple of games this week already, the unexpected will happen. There's a lot of jitters, right? There's a lot of things that these guys haven't gone through yet, scenario wise. One of the things that the Lions do differently than other teams, though, and this is the part that I'm really not worried about, is being game ready. And the Lions practice harder than anybody else. At least that is what they have been told from other analysts, and even Avonte Maddox coming over from the Super Bowl winners, the Eagles. Avonte Maddox found out that the Lions did live tackling drills in camp, and they go live in scrimmage. It's Detroit on Detroit, and he said, "Man, that stuff would never fly in Philly. We would never do any live hitting." And as soon as he's saying that, Jahmyr Gibbs gets taken out by Marcus Davenport near the end zone. I mean, totally clipped. And he just pops up, right? Like nothing happened. So if there's one thing I'm not worried about tomorrow, it's that these guys are ready to go. And, the Falcons game already gave them a big stunner, when Morris Norris went down and got carted off, and it was a vicious scene. I'm sure you remember that. That kind of stuff is kind of already out of their system, right? The butterflies are already out. What I see tomorrow is going to be a hard-fought game. Now, I just did a video not too long ago that information came out that Parsons will be on a pitch count, and so he's not going to get a ton of snaps. The final call is going to be coming from the training staff there in Green Bay as to whether or not he's going to go and how much is he going to go. But even if he goes 100% and he is 100% healthy, Penei Sewell's handled him, right? He's had some pressure along the edge. He's had a couple of sacks back in 2023 when he was with the Cowboys. Different team. You guys lost Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark was the biggest thorn in our ass. Like, Kenny Clark was always a problem, and now he's gone. And so how are they going to manufacture that pressure, through the middle again? I expect Green Bay to run right at our two rookie guards. That's where I expect it on defense. Offense, I'm not worried one bit. I think that the Lions can score. I think that they can put up a lot of points on the Packers. But I think that the Packers are probably going to be able to put up their own points tomorrow too. It's game one. There'll be a lot of wounds licked tomorrow. That's for sure.
Yeah, I also saw a report that the Packers elevated Micah Robinson, cornerback out of Tulane, and people are kind of to the conclusion that maybe Nate Hobbs isn't ready to go.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I like Nate Hobbs. I thought that was a great pickup for you guys. He was somebody that I was looking at for the Lions a couple of seasons ago in free agency, but his injury issue, it seems to be consistent. So we'll see how far that goes. But it's going to be a great game, man. I have the Lions winning by 10, 27-17.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing too, Brian. Right, for the Packers. You guys finished what 11-6 last year, I think.
Yep.
And most of those losses were within the division, right?
Yeah.
They're
I think 5 were.
very
I think we went 1-5 in the North.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to be a point of emphasis for Green Bay. You can't tell me Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay brain trust hasn't thought about and talked about that all season. And obviously, you got to win division games. I love that the NFL went back to division games to open the season. Stakes are high. Anything can happen, right? I do think that wouldn't be surprised for a very hard fought game. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to whoever's got the ball last, putting their field goal kicker out there to try to win the game by 1 or 3 points or whatever it ends up being there. But it's going to be electric, man. Who gets the first sack, Hutchinson or Parsons? And I feel like I'm sure each of them will get one tomorrow. And it's just going to be such a fun chess match back and forth. Green Bay obviously is a very good football team, and damn well that Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, everybody in Green Bay, they want to start off 1-0 like everybody does, but especially against a team that's won the division for a couple of years in a row. What better way for Green Bay to come out and say, this is a new year to try to start off with a win. You don't want to go 0-1 against a divisional opponent off the bat. So I expect it all systems go for both teams tomorrow. For
sure. You mentioned, come down to a field goal, and for the last few years, Packers have been up in arms over their kickers. Kickers would have came through huge for us in that loss to the Niners in the championship game, but we seem to have found a good one last year. So hopefully he does us good.
Yeah, man, and it was for so many years, man. It was the Lions, Lambeau. It was exactly, and it was the Lions going to Lambeau. It's probably a loss. I mean, not probably, for however many years they went to Lambeau and didn't win. And how many times Rodgers was just carving them apart, or Crosby would go out and just lay up field goal, game over, and so tides have kind of turned a little bit, and so obviously the Lions, both these teams, for the same exact reasons, desperately want to win this game, and so I don't know what it's going to come down to, man. Field goal or who wins the turnover battle. It's going to be interesting to see, but I'll tell you this: I'd rather the Lions be playing Green Bay than starting off with the Browns or the Bengals or somebody different. It'd still obviously be really excited, but this is fun. This is what you want.
So, Brian, you've been doing a lot of the question, asking. Let me ask you a question. Where do you see Jordan Love right now in his career? Because he's been kind of going up and down a little bit. He's been fairly inconsistent at times, and then there's games that he plays lights out. Where do you see Jordan Love this year? And I guess to follow that up, if this trade with Parsons, doesn't fulfill itself, and Parsons maybe plays half the season this year because he's consistently injured, is Gutekunst and the Fleur on the hot seat? Was this a move to try to save their jobs? I guess kind of give us your rundown of your thoughts on kind of where you are with any of that.
As far as Jordan Love, I think his first year as a starter, he played pretty good. I forgot his, 35 and 11, over 4,000 yards passing. Year 2 last year, he got hurt in the first game against the Eagles. I think he tried to come back too early. Then he kind of he hurt his groin. I think this year is going to be different. He's been inconsistent, but there's a lot worse quarterbacks in the league than I think Jordan Love. That I think he has room for improvement, obviously, and hopefully he's worked on that in the off season. I think he'll have an average year. I think if his line can block for him, I think he should be back up to his numbers that he had in his first year as a starter. I really do. Green Bay always seems to have a pretty solid offensive line protecting the quarterback.
If there's one thing Jordan has done really well is he protects the ball. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. He makes some stupid moves, but he doesn't really throw a bunch of interceptions.
Yeah, he has the best and worst, I think, from Favre and Rodgers. I think, what I'm saying? He has like the mentality of screw it, he's just going to chuck it, or like Aaron Rodgers just, I mean, his touchdown to interception ratio is just out of this world, you know. But yeah, he is pretty smart with the ball for sure, like you said. As far as Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur, I don't know because their contract hasn't been renewed. So when they asked LaFleur about the Parsons trade, how much involvement he had, he said he was like a cheerleader on the sidelines. So I'm taking it as that he didn't really. I mean, they probably asked him, "Hey, what do you think?" And he's probably like, "Yeah," but I don't know how much actual involvement he had with it. You know, I do think that this next year is going to depend on their futures in Green Bay for sure. You know, you can't just be complacent with average.
Yeah, I think that this is a Hail Mary year for them. Honestly, I think that the Green Bay is they're so used to winning, right? I mean, for
Right.
decades, they're consistently been the winners in the North, and now those lowly Lions have finally roared back and put themselves back into a good position. And I think that it's really affecting the Packers. You know, the ownership. I know you guys all own a bunch of stock, right? But you've got some real owners out there that want answers, right? They want a winning football culture back. I think that this is one of those years. You got a new CEO out there, and what does he do immediately? Brings in a $47 million guy, which is my next question, or 48, whatever it was, 47. You have no future now with your first round picks gone. What is Green Bay going to do? Do you have enough on this roster between now and the next
I guess
few years?
the way I looked at it, I'll go back to with Carmen or Ed Policy, it's Carmen's son, right? Carmen Policy's son
Okay.
from San Fran. Anyways, I said that when he's coming in and the rumors are going, I said he's gonna make a big splash. He's gonna try to do something. His first year on the job. Well, here we are. With the first round picks, you could go either way. I mean, the Cowboys are gonna get back to back first round picks in the mid-20s, late 20s. I mean, people always say, well, Packers haven't drafted anything in the first round and how many years it's turned out to be good. So, I mean, you know, I don't think they would have done it knowing it was going to hamper the future. I just don't think they've had such a good history of drafting and, you know, in later rounds. I don't think that they really thought they was going to do too much, I guess. What are your thoughts?
Riley, not to steal the thunder here, but so Gutekunst is been out there, and I probably butcher his name, but he's been out there 7-8 years.
Yep.
And who's the best number one draft pick you've taken in those 7 drafts? Do you think?
Just trying to think back. Well, everyone wants to say Jordan Morgan was a bust. He was our first round pick last year.
That's way too early for that. Yeah.
Yeah. He was looking pretty good this preseason. When it's all said and done, I want to say it's gonna be Jordan Love.
Okay, so when I'm looking back at what you guys have drafted, you go back to let's go back to 2017. That's about the time that Brian G was brought in. I don't even know who Kevin King is, the corner. He's definitely gone somewhere. Jair Alexander was a pretty good pick, but he's now gone. Rashawn Gary, he's still around. He's a damn good linebacker. Then Jordan Love, Eric Stokes. I don't know what your thoughts on Eric Stokes, but then Quay Walker. I mean, outside of his attitude issues and whatnot, I mean, he's a decent linebacker. Lucas Van Ness, he's a really good defensive end. So Jordan Morgan,
He's got to show it first, man. He's 6'5",
Yeah.
275. He's got to go out there and show it.
he's been around since 2023. So he's only 2 seasons underneath his belt. He had 7 sacks. Last year?
Right.
Something like that. I don't remember, but Luka's really
I mean,
good.
you look at Quay Walker, you look at Jair Alexander, you look at Jordan Love. The one thing they all have in common is first round draft pick and injuries.
Yeah. Well, I
You
know
know,
injuries are part of the game. We can't do anything about it. But I guess when I
right?
look at the first round picks, I know for me, yeah, Brad Holmes has had some extremely good luck. And maybe it's not luck anymore when you continue to repeat it every year after year after year of being able to find guys in that third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh rounds. I mean, Brad's finding guys everywhere. And I haven't, gone through your entire draft history to see, Isaiah McDuffie, damn good football player, 2021, 6th round draft pick. So yeah, obviously Brian's drafted some good guys in the back end. Rasheed Walker's another one. I don't know about Enabare. I don't know how you feel about him, but he seems like he's a
Decent.
fairly decent defensive end. But you don't expect, a lot of late round guys to play. Carl Brooks, he's one of my favorite draft picks that you guys got. I love that dude, and he's going to be a baller in very short order. He's going to be really good. But I guess giving up the first round picks, man, it's for me. You gave up all of your future, and now you can't bring in any guys that maybe you don't finish in the mid-20s this year. What happens if you have a top 10 pick, next season, and you don't have a first round pick? You could have totally changed your organization,
Right.
with a linebacker in the first round next year that's not $188 million, and that's the way I look at it. And I think that's the way that Brad looks at it, is he tries to set his roster based on future sustainability. I think this is an all-in play. And if it doesn't work in the next 1 or 2 years, the Packers might be in some trouble financially. And then what? That sustainability, it's gone. So we'll see, man. I think that there's a lot of meat on the bone that's, hasn't been realized yet. No one's taken a bite.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's. I mean, it's a gamble, I guess. Yeah, you could say that. And this is hope the Packers weren't like, you know, wide-eyed when they, when Parsons and everything. Hopefully, they did their research on his injury and thought, hey, if this doesn't work, and then we're out 2 draft picks, 2 first-round picks, and which I think they did. I mean, I don't see them jeopardizing their future over a player like Micah Parsons, but you never know.
Yeah, you would hope, obviously not, but as a fan from the Packers, right? As you're talking about these constant draft picks, it's just changed up the status quo. I remember when the Jaguars hired Urban Meyer. One of my friends that's a Jaguars fan. It was like, well, this is either going to be a home run or it's going to be a bust. But I'd rather them do that than just hire a Jeff Fisher. I don't know, a run of the mill kind of head football coach. So for Green Bay, obviously, you guys, I'm sure, were way excited when you acquired Parsons, but I think that there is both sides of that coin where it is a little bit of an all-in play. Do you feel, Brian, again, not that we're interviewing you, but are you, which teams in the NFC North scare you the most between the Lions, Bears, and Vikings? How do you kind of figure that all situates this year?
At the top of the list would be the Lions for sure. And it has been for the last couple of years for obvious reasons. You guys, have done awesome. The Vikings with Darnold going to Seattle, I'm not sure, how McCarthy is as a first year starter, and the Bears. I mean, I can't say I'm afraid of the Bears.
The
I
reality,
mean,
just the kind of laugh. I think they might be better than that, but I thought that last year. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, I can't let my guard down.
Look, Caleb Williams is a mess, man. And you know what? Ben Johnson is a good coach. He is. We just don't know what kind of head coach he's gonna be. And I'm giving Caleb Williams a short leash if I'm Ben Johnson. And we'll see if this is gonna completely blow up in his face, because I think that Ben. I know that I've said this before on our show, Riley, that last game against the Bears. Someone please tell me why a quarterback holds the ball for 30 seconds and doesn't snap it, and then you end up with one last play when you could have tied that game. You could even have won that game. Something really fishy going on there. Like there was,
Yeah.
like Ben and Caleb were on the same team here for a moment, and now Ben's over there and he's realizing, maybe the grass isn't always greener on the other side, because Caleb's kind of a mess, and it has not worked out. But you know what? The season starts this weekend for everybody, so we'll see if they worked anything out. All right, that'll be interesting.
Love it, man. And hey, Detroit and Green Bay, and then it's also great that on Monday night, Minnesota, Chicago. So these teams, it's just going to be a bloodbath. I feel like, man, these teams going at each other, but we'll see, man. Maybe it's as simple as who's the better player in the long run over the next 3 years, McCarthy or Caleb Williams, and does that make one of those teams obviously better than the other? But yeah, the outlook again for the Packers, I think, it's a little bit more of that all-in move, like Will kind of described.
Sure.
But you know what? You only make an all-in move if you feel like you're that close to winning, and obviously Green Bay does.
Right, and obviously they made the comparisons. Well, when Favre was 27, he got Reggie White. When Rodgers was 27, he got Charles Woodson. Jordan Love is gonna be 27 this year. He got Micah Parsons. So
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, only time will tell, I guess, right?
But why did they go out and get him a receiver? I mean, you have Matthew Golden, but I guess give us the rundown. What's going on with the receivers? Because there's a lot being printed. You get the Jones fracture on the one guy who Jaden Reed, and then Savion and the other guy. They were on the injury report this week. But give us a rundown on your receivers. What do you know about them? Like, where are these guys at in their ability to play this weekend?
Well, Jaden Reed, he was like full participant in practice, and then he shows him like doing exercises or routes, and he's favoring his left leg afterwards. It's like, I don't know if he's going to be good to go out there. Hopefully we can have Dobbs and Wicks and Golden and Malik Heath. I mean, he showed some promises preseason, so next man up, I guess. If Reed can't go, get somebody else out there. I'd rather him rest and get better and then go out there and get hurt even worse, you know what I'm saying, or not be as productive as he's been in the past. But I think getting Golden and with the projection of Christian Watson potentially coming back sooner than expected, I mean, that's something to look forward to as Packer fans. Because like when he first got hurt and stuff, they were saying like week 13, 14 of this year he'd be back, but he was at training camp and he was running 22, 23 miles an hour on the sidelines. I mean, he's like way ahead of schedule. So hopefully, he's on the PUP list to start the year, but hopefully he can come back and get some balls and get some touchdowns,
Yeah, I had an opportunity to interview Matthew Golden when I was at the draft, and I got to say, I really liked him as an individual. I'm sure you're getting the best of everybody, but he was just super easy to talk to and didn't try to pull any punches. I mean, kind of told you how he felt, and just a super nice dude. So, I mean, I wish him nothing but the best of luck. I think he's going to run into some pretty good DBs this weekend. But it'd be interesting to see how both these teams react, man. I think we have
like a chess match.
A very good rival. Yeah, we have a very good rivalry going on here with Green Bay, and I got to tell you, it's kind of a rivalry that it's like hard to be mad at a Packer. You know what I mean? It's kind of tough. I've never run into a bad Packer fan ever.
You know what? I got two questions here. One, I know because Will was at Lambeau last year. In fact, he got Jahmyr Gibbs scored a touchdown there and then gave him his glove. So Will's got that. I don't know if you've got that right there with you, Will, but from Lambeau Field. Are you going to the game tomorrow, Brian?
No.
Gotcha.
I am not. I have family obligations.
Sure. Yeah. But I know I've seen you post a lot of stuff a lot of times from Lambeau Field, but no, I was just having that flashback because we're talking about the rivalry, which for so many years it wasn't much of a rivalry, and the Lions would get them here and there, but now it doesn't feel like a David and Goliath nearly as much as it used to, which thank goodness for us.
Yeah, no, the last game I went to was this last Thanksgiving. I went to the Dolphins and Packers game.
Nice.
So
very nice.
That was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys, which game do you think is a must-watch this year? I'd say tomorrow's game. First game of the year. Two heavyweights going at it.
Out of all games?
Yeah, I mean, it's like for the Lions. Yeah.
Oh, for the Lions. Oh man. Look, every division game is must-watch, but
for sure,
if I were to go out of the division, I would say. Well, one, you can't miss tomorrow. No one's going to miss tomorrow. But the Baltimore Ravens is, I think, the first really big test for the Lions. And I don't mean any disrespect at all with that. What I mean by is the Ravens killed us. They crushed us. They kicked us in the teeth a few times, and all in one game. And so we have a lot of bad blood with the Ravens right now. So that to me is the game that is going to tell us how this season's going to go for us. We're going to get tested in Green Bay. We're going to come back home. We're going to smoke Ben, hopefully, and then we're going to roll out to Baltimore. And that's where I believe the rubber's going to meet the road. It's going to be the third game. Your body's going to be sore after a couple of weeks. You're just going to start feeling right, hopefully by week 3 or 4, but they're catching us week 3. So hopefully everyone's healthy. But to me, that is the must watch. That is a must win game of the season for me. Because after that, I think that the Lions can end up, picking up a few wins and hopefully getting into the harder part of the schedule once we start seeing the Chiefs and the Eagles kind of middle of the season here. It's going to be a gauntlet, absolute gauntlet between what we've got coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no rest for the weary, right? It's week in, it's week out, and I think the game against Baltimore, I think that Will's obviously referencing last time. Brian, I don't know. I think it was like 44-6. I mean, they just wiped the floor with Detroit. So that was one of the worst football games I've ever watched in my life. So that's why, obviously, yeah, that's a barometer this year. If they go, and you got to play a lot better. And obviously, can you contain Lamar, who's likely to be there in the NFC or the AFC? Certainly wild card, but probably even further than that. So those are the teams you have to beat if you're going to try to obviously win a Super Bowl. You've got Kansas City on the schedule. For me, Washington, because they ended the Lions season last year. And so the Lions got to go. And I felt like so confident that the Lions were going to win that game because I thought Washington was arriving a little bit early. But that's what the Lions did the year before. And so, and then they built off of that. Can Washington do that this year? I think that one is, at least for me, one that I've got circled for sure. Hopefully go and, even the score a little bit with Washington.
For sure.
That Ravens game was 38-6, Riley, and we didn't score until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think Gibbs got his first career touchdown there, and it was that was brutal, man. That thing was over by halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks to see, like, as a Packer fan, it sucks to see Jair go to Baltimore. But pretty much, Lamar Jackson pretty much didn't recruit, but, whatever, bringing him back home. But I don't even know if he's going to be healthy for the game. So late in the season, who knows? He's dealing with the same knee issue that he was sitting out in Green Bay for, So by week, whatever, it's towards the end of the season, the Packers play the Ravens, and I don't think if history repeats itself, Jair won't be playing against his former team. So I don't know.
I'm angry to see Jair go to the Ravens because that just made me feel a whole lot better about what our DBs are going to be able to do. We've matched up well against Jair, the games that he has lined up anyway and been in. Be interesting to see where that trails though.
Early on in training camp, they had to tell Nate Hobbs to scale back because he was like a human missile out there going after his own teammates. I mean, you're trying to get your team ready for the season coming up, not putting them on the mend,
Right.
Is
Hobbs, to you, Brian, like the big acquisition for Green Bay this offseason, other than the guys you drafted?
I would say more like an Aaron Banks would be, just because you got to keep Jordan Love upright, And I mean, Hobbs, if he can come and make an impact, that's obviously, it's tough to say. He wasn't like a sexy pickup in my eyes. He wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I expected more out of Mecole Hardman than they. He's dropping passes, muffin kick or punt returns, and they had him on now he's on the practice squad. He has the raw natural talent. He has the speed. He's just, the simple things like the catching and the fumbles. He's got to work on, obviously. But
yeah,
sure. The pick that, or the acquisition that sticks out to me is, obviously it wasn't technically, it was still in the preseason, but Micah Parsons. I mean, you guys, I guess I'm ecstatic the Packers got him. 12 sacks. Every year, the last 4 years. I mean, he's a game changer. I think he is. I mean, that's my opinion. And you saw what the Cowboys struggled to do against the Eagles was have the outside containment to chase down Jalen Hurts. If Parsons would have been healthy, that would have been him right there chasing him down. So yeah, and you guys, like you said, Will Kenny Clark. It sucks to see him go. He stuffed the middle. He stopped the run. And but not by his fault, but he played through injury last year, and I think his numbers have gone down little by little the last few years. He's 30. Micah Parsons is 26. So I don't know. I guess
It's part of the price you pay to get a Micah Parsons, right?
yeah, it is, and hopefully it pays off. Obviously, like you said, it's like a Hail Mary for the Packers to go out and get Micah Parsons. And I mean, financially, I think the Packers will be okay. I mean, it is what it is. It's not like it's a 10-year contract. It's a 4-year. I think he's only making $9 million this year. Was it? Did I see that wrong?
From Micah?
Yeah,
He's probably still on his
rookie or
his rookie deal, but they did give him the 5th-year option at the linebacker rate, which was a little bit more, I guess, than the other option at defensive end. My question is this: have you heard any grumblings about any change to the defensive scheme since he's been there? Because he's an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, and he's coming
thought on the depth chart I saw him at defensive end.
You guys are running a 4-3 or 4-2 hybrid out there. So that it's interesting. Like, where are they going to put him? I mean, if you could put him at Sam linebacker, it's extremely hard to find a Sam linebacker in this league, and he can play that position.
Hell, if we had Joe Barry, he'd be out with the cornerbacks playing D-back.
That's an expensive cornerback, man.
I don't see him taking Parsons and Vaness. Like, you're going to have both of them on the field. I see him putting Vaness at defensive end and putting Parsons behind in the Sam linebacker spot. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I mean, going to have Rashawn Gary, you're going to have Quay Walker, you're going to have, Edgerrin Cooper, McDuffie, Parsons, and Van Ness. I mean, when I hear those names and know where they play, it's rotation. Keep them fresh. If they can produce at a high level by rotating them in and out, I mean, especially with his first game tomorrow, he's going to be on a snap count, like you said, Will, and just, see how the other guys do that. You're talking about Kenny Clark playing nose tackle. I'm pretty sure they're going to have who they say they're going to have at Brooks playing nose tackle. Pretty sure.
Carl Brooks, I think is your next man up. He's a damn good football player. He's somebody that I watched come up through the draft. I think it was 2023, and I wanted him in Detroit, and I would have taken him over Broderick Martin in a heartbeat. I think he was taken the 5th round, Carl Brooks, or third round.
Yeah, another guy is Devontae Wyatt. He showed signs last year coming around, then he got hurt, but still he can stuff the middle.
You know who you guys have now is you have Nazir Stackhouse. I forgot about him. I
And
mentioned
Brinson too.
Nazir Stackhouse. I watched him at the combine, and I don't have my book next to me, but he was like number 5 on my book. It was Tyleek Williams, and Nazir Stackhouse was number 5 for the first team that was doing the combine drills. He impressed me. I know that he was a late draft pick for you guys, but he impressed me the way that he was moving in and out of those drills that day. And I know he doesn't have a ton of production, and he comes from a lower school or whatever, but he's someone to keep your eye on, to be honest.
Right.
With you. From my perspective, not knowing him as a Packer, but knowing him from the combine and kind of going through that process. But Carl Brooks, I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised with what he does over the next year or so.
And I've been happy with Evan Williams, obviously McKinney, Javon Bullard. You have
another one of my guys too, Kamal Hayden. Kamal Hayden is a I think he came out of Tennessee. I don't remember now. But Kamal Hayden was a lower 4th, 5th round pick corner. I absolutely loved his tape. I thought they did it great on film, and you guys ended up picking him up. Again, another player that I wanted for Detroit is on your squad. But you know what? I guess it goes back and forth because we were able to get Branch and a couple other guys in front of you. So I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's just how it happens. Obviously, it's like playing chess, with other teams. You you got to have a backup move in case someone takes the guy you're looking at, right?
Exactly. Well, the one move we can't let you have, Brian, is you guys can't win a Super Bowl before the Dan Campbell regime wins a Super Bowl. So that just can't happen. That's one thing that we're not giving up.
Yeah, that's not allowed. We just want to make that announcement. That's the crux of what we wanted to achieve tonight coming on your show. We want to just make that announcement unequivocally clear.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I respect you guys and everything, and I always joke with when I've had Bear fans on, or um, I used to ask them, if they still have to take their VCR and to get serviced, and just to watch their teams back when their team was good.
Don't forget to rewind.
Yeah, right.
We'd go back to 2014, and then beyond that, maybe the 1990s, and then maybe 30 years before that. But if things are looking bad out there for us, I'm gonna have to come out there and Tanya Harding Micah Parsons' knee and be done with it. So,
And even like Parsons, like he seems like so chill. Like when he came into the facilities for his check or for his checkup or whatever, when they brought him to Green Bay, he's like, I saw the names of like White and Brett Favre and Bart Starr. He's like, I want to have my name up there. So I think he has motivation to be good. To be great for the Packers. And he's like, yeah, there's nothing really to do in Green Bay. And he goes, maybe that's what I needed in my life. So maybe he's like seeing like the big picture of like, he can kind of keep grounded in Green Bay. Charles Woodson, when he was in Oakland, he was getting into trouble with Marquise Anderson, a former Packer, this and that. Then he comes to Green Bay. I go to practice, maybe get a bite to eat and go home and I read in my condo. I read a book, and look how good he was for the Packers. So hopefully, like this kind of has the feel of a Reggie White, Charles Woodson type move, and hopefully it has the same ending as a Packer fan that it did for those two free agents.
That's a very good perspective there, because I said it on the morning show the other day. I said he's going up to Green Bay from Arlington, Texas, where there's a ton of stuff to do down in Texas. He's going to go up there and have nothing. He's going to be bored out of his mind. He's going to be so homesick. But what you just said, and if that's what Parsons said, is maybe he needed that change, well, then that's a problem, because he's going to go up there and he's going to find out that maybe having a little extra peace in your life and slow things down a little bit, it's probably going to hone him in. He's going to be able to have a better mindset, going.
Or we had Zadarius Smith getting pulled over on the way back from Chicago with, THC vape pens in the Suburban, and Rashawn Gary's with him, and like their nightlife, they go down to like Milwaukee Bucks games, or they go to Chicago for the weekend and come back, and who knows what else they're doing. But to me, he's, ever since he got denied that captain label for the Packers, he had it out for the Packers. He's like, I'm not going back there, whatever. He went out and got his own captain pendant made, and I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah, well, Zadarius is now he's now an Eagle.
Yep. Go figure, chasing the ring, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of Lions fans that are pretty butthurt over the fact that he's not back in Detroit, but I never expected it. I didn't want it. It doesn't fit, and it is what it is. But now he's going to be able to get his final tour of revenge now against the Lions. He got it on the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings, and now the Lions. He'll be able to see us here November 6th.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys want to do a little bit of rapid fire? I have about 10 questions, and short answer, long answer, whatever you guys want.
Yeah, go for it. Then I gotta get rolling right after that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. Ford Field or the Silverdome?
Ooh, Silverdome, man. Too many iconic memories.
For me, unfortunately, I have not been to either. That will change soon. I will get to Ford Field, but I'll say Ford Field because that's been all I've known since my Lions fandom, which began in 2003.
Okay, so then this next question, Calvin Johnson or Herman Moore?
Calvin Johnson or Herman Moore?
Yep.
Calvin Johnson, without a doubt. Herman Moore is, I'll leave that alone. Calvin Johnson.
Calvin Johnson.
Dan Campbell kneecap quote, legendary or cringe?
Legendary.
It's legendary, man, because of what they've done since.
Okay. Most underrated Lion of all time?
Ooh, most underrated Lion of all time. Jared Goff.
Ah, damn it! I should have spoke up.
Jared Goff. He was the bridge quarterback. It's Jared Goff, most underrated of all time.
It has to be, and I'll say this, Brian. I know this is rapid fire, so just answer the damn question and keep it moving. But I do have to point out because myself, I know Tim Brandon, a good friend of our show and channel as well, and most other Lions fans, we thought Goff was going to be a bridge quarterback. And Will was one of the few that believed in it right away. That was, as I was sitting here thinking, who's the most underrated? That was the name that came to mind because I still don't think he's appreciated enough to this day. So, Jared Goff.
Okay. Who do you think is the heart of the team? What player currently?
Ooh. See, if Frank Ragnow was here, I would say Frank Ragnow has always been. And matter of fact, someone just said that about him the other day, that he was the motor of the team. That is a loaded question because there's so many good players, but I'm going to say it's between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Aiden Hutchinson that they're the glue, man.
Okay.
I will go with Penei Sewell, which he's not known as some vocal leader, but I've seen the pregame speeches that he gives. You cannot tell me that dude doesn't feel and just exuberate the emotion of leadership, and he wants to win as badly as he wants to breathe. So I'll say Penei Sewell.
Sure. Honolulu blue or classic black combo? Uniforms.
Blueberries all day.
Honolulu blue.
Greatest line of all time?
Greatest line of all time is in my lifetime. It's Barry Sanders.
Yeah, number 20. It's hard to top that. They've had some really good players despite not having a ton of success, but I think Barry Sanders has that title and probably will for a little while.
Got two more for you. Past or current Lions player you would trust most to babysit your kids if you had kids?
What? Well, see, I don't know any of them personally. I'm going to pick Dan Campbell because he's a former Lions player.
Yes.
Just the way that he loves his little dogs and brings them to get coffee, I think he'll be great with babies.
Okay.
Thank God I'm not having any more kids.
Yeah, that's still on my to-do list, but that one's easy for me. And no, I'm just kidding. Not Ndamukong Suh. I'm going to say,
I'd stop it.
Yeah. I know. I'd say Matthew Stafford. I still love Matthew Stafford to this day, and I feel like he'd be pretty trustable. And then we could always have a conversation, maybe play a little catch, and when I pick my kids up or whatever the situation is there. But I'll go with Stafford.
For sure. A couple weeks ago, I said Kenny Clark, and I stick by that.
Kenny Clark.
Despite his, yeah.
He has kids. How can you not trust him, right?
For sure.
Right?
He's like a big teddy bear, Last question. Which current Lion would make the best WWE wrestler?
Has to be a current Lion player.
Okay, past or current. You can go either or.
Well, shoot. I'm going to have to double down on this one. Dan Campbell. He would be a great WWE star, but if I would really think about this one, it would probably have been Ndamukong Suh because he was so big and so vicious. He's a little quiet, when he's not on the field, but I'll stick with Dan. We're going with Dan, man. Dan the man.
I would say the name that comes to mind for me is Malcolm Rodriguez, because I think if I'm not mistaken, he was a really good wrestler all through at least high school. I'll go with Rodriguez, but I'll tell you also, and I'll double down as well, the one guy I would not want to fight is Penei Sewell. I mean, that
For sure.
there's a bunch of people that I'd rather not fight, but he's probably at the top of the list. I think he could go in there and turn heel. And if you're going past player, and Ndamukong Suh. I'll never forget him stomping on what is it, Dietrich Smith?
Dietrich Smith, yeah.
And then being on the sideline and trying to like explain to the ref or the coach, whoever it was, that was I know I was just putting my foot in. Come on, man. Like it was.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
Sure, man.
Malcolm, you're right. He would have been a good lucha libre, right? He would have been a good lucha. That's part of his heritage.
There you go. I love it. That's
Brian Branch from the top rope.
Right, Brian.
There you go.
All right, listen. We're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys. Oh, go ahead. What's up,
So
Will?
I wanted to ask you just one final thing. Brian Branch, he gets ejected last year. Did you think it was warranted? And are you ready for Brian to come back?
I am. And you want to know what? The reason why I think it was warranted is you see, a lot of the brain issues, the brain injuries. I mean, come on. He can't, you get ejected in college for it. I mean, how can you not? I mean, I don't know. I think, to me, personally, I think he did it on purpose. I really do.
Ooh. Okay.
I know the game happens fast, but I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, everybody can think what they want. My opinion, I think it was intentional.
All right. Brian, thank you for having us on, man.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people find you guys on social media?
At Will Rock Jr. on Twitter is the primary. Otherwise, you can always find me on YouTube Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. right here in Rockdown Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you got me at Riley L. O'Brien on Twitter and Instagram. I think are the two, the only two that I've got. And then Rocked On Detroit Lions. You see us there Monday through Friday, as Will said, and game day. Now that the season started, and do a lot of coverage there. So give us a shout at Rocked On Detroit Lions.
For sure. Maybe I can have you guys both on later on in the season.
Let's do it.
Sounds good, Brian. Thank you, man.
All right, man. You guys have a good night. Thank you.
You too.